Welcome to our second episode of Jail Tales,
where we bring you tales from the jails.
I'm Saige.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we are going to share some fun stories with you. So one of the stories that we brought up last week that we didn't really get to get into was the court date that we went to when we found our eel. It was a little crazy. The one court that we go to is funny. This one was just crazy, and I don't think we have to go back to that one, right?
We do not. All my fines have been wiped from the record, $7,000 worth, and I got credit for the whole year that I was in jail.
Awesome. Super fantastic.
Yay!
Maybe I can find a little celebratory noise to pop in there.
I know, I wish I had a little, it'd be cool if you could add an effect when I do this, and it's like,
I'm going to try to do that. We'll see what I can do with the editing software. So, we drove about 4 hours to get to this courthouse, and that usually means that we're leaving at like 5 in the morning. Typically it ends up raining while we're driving, which is fun, so we gotta leave earlier. And we finally get there, we get through the door, we go through the metal detectors. I almost said security monitors.
I mean, close enough.
Same thing, I guess. And after we go through the metal detectors, we're like, oh, we're gonna pee before court starts. So we go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I start hearing this commotion outside the bathroom. And I'm telling her, like, shh.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting here talking.
Yeah, and I was like, shut up, I don't know what's going on. And I finished before her. I'm like quickly trying to get out so I can hear what's going on, because I guess I'm nosy. Oops. And I'm like cracking the door open.
We're like at the bathroom, like.
Yeah, we don't want to walk into this commotion because it's a very small entryway. But this lady started getting violent with the cop at the front, and it was crazy.
All we could hear is, ma'am, you're gonna have to stop or I'm going to have you arrested.
Yeah, and she was like yelling at him and said something about him being racist, and he was like, you've tried to attack me twice now. And so finally he tells her, like, this is your last chance. You need to go outside or you're gonna be arrested. And she steps out and opens the door, but she was like, I'll go out, but I'm staying right here. And he was like, no, you're not. You need to leave. So another cop comes walking up, and they're outside just talking to her. She's not in handcuffs, even though she tried to physically assault this cop multiple times. They're not arresting her. They're just talking to her, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get her calmed down. And now we're actually like outside of the bathroom watching, because we can't go into the courtroom until we go back through the metal detectors. And we see this lady again try to physically attack this officer. They still let her be loose, and then she did it a fourth time, which he said later that it had happened multiple times before that too. So probably like 6-7 times. They gave her a lot of chances.
She was yelling. You could hear her throughout the courtroom.
Oh yeah, everybody's heads were turned watching.
I mean, how could you not? It's always interesting when you go to court and that happens.
Yeah, super crazy. So everybody's standing there just like wide-eyed, looking around at each other like, this is nuts. What is going on? We just want to get this done and over with. Can we go to the courtroom now? And eventually, after she finally attacked him that last time, they put her in cuffs. She's screaming, you're racist. And so they get a cop car up there and they start arresting her, and it was crazy. And so that part's basically over. But we go into the courtroom and we have to sit on separate sides.
Like a wedding.
Yeah, they said whoever's here for court has to sit on this side. And whoever's
family on this side.
Yeah, so I'm the family and she's the
ex-inmate.
Yeah, I was gonna say person there for court, present, but we sit on our separate sides and we're like looking at each other from across the courtroom, still hearing stuff going on outside, so we're rubbernecking, trying to look and see what's going on, being all nosy. And I end up sitting I was sitting alone, and then this girl comes in with a baby, and so I'm like interacting with her and the baby. I get up to go outside for a little bit because it hasn't started yet. And I go to the car, come back, my seat's taken, so I sit down next to this other little girl in the back. And the cops there were very, very nice. They were bringing coloring things to the kids, and stickers, and kept coming back to like interact with the little kids. Very sweet. Oh, sorry, going backward a little bit. So while I was originally sitting next to the girl with the baby, the cop that was being assaulted came into the courtroom, and somebody, or me, or I don't even remember because it's been over a month now, said something about like, whoa, that was crazy. And he was like, yeah, well, I'm racist apparently, and I was like, yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh gosh.
And
This guy.
Yeah, this guy, he was crazy. A lot of the stories gonna be about him. He was like, well, what they don't know is I have a black wife. And I was like, oh, all right.
He said it loud enough for the whole courtroom to hear, though.
Yeah, he made sure to emphasize so everybody heard it. And now I've moved seats, all that's passed and over, and I'm sitting next to this little girl in the back, and this female cop keeps bringing the coloring supplies and the stickers and stuff. Well, this male cop decides to walk over and starts talking to me while I'm sitting next to this little girl. He acted like he was coming to talk to the little girl, but he was trying to come over and talk to me. And I don't remember exactly how it started, but he was like, oh, is that your sister over there? And, you know, I went over there and messed with her and told her that you've been causing her trouble is what I've heard, or she's been causing you trouble. And I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, because you stepped outside to make a phone call or something, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I went to my car to grab my phone.
And then he came over to me and was like, your sister over here tells me you're causing a lot of trouble or something weird. I don't know. He was being very flirtatious. It was strange.
Yeah, and he didn't interact with anyone else in the courtroom except me and her. And he came back to me like 4 or 5 times. So eventually, he was asking about if we were driving back up here home because he had been here before we mentioned that we drove a long way and where we came from. He was like, oh, I know that area. So the first time he was talking to me after saying the trouble thing, he was like, so are you guys going straight back home? And I've been up there a few times. I go up there for this event and da da da. And eventually I told him like I went to college in Colorado and whatever. I don't know how we got to that topic, but this guy said one of the few times that he came back, I think it was like the 3rd time that he came over to me.
3rd or 4th that he kept coming over and leaning over the pew and being like,
yeah,
just talking to Saige, like, hello, blah, blah, blah.
Very weird. He was telling me that he was 1 year from retiring, and when he retires, he's gonna buy a motorcycle and a big bag of weed, and he's gonna find some 25-year-old girl to drive to Colorado with on
Just
his
one big
motorcycle. One big bag.
And I guess he assumed he thought you were like 25. Because
Well,
he was like referring to, I'm gonna find a 25-year-old.
yeah, thought that was a little strange. Very
And a
specific
big
number.
Bag of weed.
Yeah, I was
Just
like,
one bag.
okay,
Just
buddy,
one bag.
1 year from retiring, probably in your 60s. You're assuming I'm 25.
It was so awkward.
Cool. So I was just like, wait, but what about your wife? You should bring your wife with you. And he was like, no, I'm going to leave her here. I was like, I think she'd want to go with you. And he was like, I don't actually have a black wife. Okay, thanks for informing me of that.
That was crazy. Why even fake that you were in an interracial marriage?
Yeah, that was super strange.
What they don't know is I have a black wife. So you just lied to the whole courtroom.
Yep, that was a weird one, for sure. All around weird experience.
And then, what else did he tell you? He told you about the blood alcohol content of the...
That's right. So the very last time that he came over to talk to me before we left, which we talked to him a little bit on the way out, he was telling me that that girl was causing a lot of problems before that even started, and she wasn't even there for court. She was there for her daughter's court, and when they breathalyzed her, she blew at 2.4, which he's not supposed to tell me that.
It was a lot over the limit.
Yeah, that was
And it was
crazy.
what, 9 in the morning?
Oh yeah,
ladies,
like
yes.
9:30-ish.
And she wasn't even there for her own court.
No, she was there for her daughter.
Like, why even come if you've been drinking at 9 a.m.? You didn't have to be at court.
Well, and how embarrassing for your kid to have you doing that when they're there for their court. Like, that's so stressful.
That was crazy. They ended up having to slam her in the wall a little bit because she was getting so hostile.
I guess I don't remember that part.
Oh
but
gosh, yeah.
they gave her a lot of chances. I'm sorry, but in most cases, if you physically assault a cop, you're done after the first try, not 6, 7 later.
She probably didn't remember.
If she was that drunk, if she really blew 2.4, then I don't think she remembered anything.
Oh boy, she was harsh too. She was like, "You fucking cracker."
Oh
you
yeah.
racist cracker.
Yeah, she was going off,
Golly.
and he was just so patient and
He
so
was like,
calm.
ma'am.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was really nuts. I feel like her phone broke, but maybe I imagined that. Maybe that was a show I watched or something.
God, every day we go to court is a show we watch.
Right, that's true. So I've been closing out that story. She finishes. It's great news. We're excited. Time to leave. And so we go to walk out, and he's now waiting at the door as we walk out. And he was like shaking my hand, asking my name. I'm surprised he didn't try to find me on Facebook or anything. Crazy. if you're seeing this, hi. Not going to Colorado with you. Also, you should probably wait to buy the weed till you're in Colorado. Just saying. As a cop, you'd think you'd know that.
I mean, that was funny. Why even tell someone that in a courtroom?
Yeah, no,
Oh, wow.
weird choices. And with the little kid sitting next to me, like 6 years old, sitting right here next to me, this little girl was like leaning on me. She was like, I want you to help me color this picture. And she had her sister there with her. So I've been nanny a long time, and I'm used to kids like feeling comfortable with me. But this kid was close enough to hear everything he's saying, so really not the right place to share that at all, and also not the things you should be sharing as a police officer in a courtroom. So, very weird. And then after that, we went to our lunch, and then we found our eel and drove on back home. And
Was that the day we did sushi? Oh, it was that day, wasn't it?
yeah, we had sushi. We didn't eat any eel.
No more eel for us, I guess. I didn't really care for eel anyway.
I don't think I've ever had eel, but no, we like our little Mushu. He's cute. He's like this long.
He's too tiny to be tasty.
Everything I've read says if you see me looking that way, it's because our eel is over there, so
Right
I'm looking
there.
at him. Yeah,
I can't really stare in the camera because I feel awkward, so I'm like,
looking at the eel. Everything I've read says like they're friendly and they can eat out of your hand, but they stay hidden most of the time. Ours is pretty much always out.
he's out a lot. Is he out right now?
Yeah, he's out right now. He's out all day. He's just swimming around.
He's
having
like,
fun.
do. His nose looks like a seahorse. He doesn't look like an electric eel. He has a little pointy nose. He's like, we'll do this thing where he's like, ooh.
Yeah, he does his little.
He'll go
ribbon
up
thing.
like this, like a ribbon, and then he goes, ooh, and just sinks
Back
down. I like the way he wraps around his little warmer and then just goes, ooh, like he's a pole dancer.
It's so weird. The first day that we had him home, like we got him that night, and the next morning I woke up and I looked for him, and he was hiding in his little fake plant, but it was dark-ish in here, so I couldn't see him. And I noticed like there's a dark spot in the plant. Is that him? And then I thought he was dead in the plant, and I thought he was just like stuck there laying vertically in his little plant, and I was so scared. I was like, we really just drove 8 hours just for this eel. Spent all this money prepping for it, and time and stress, like everything that went into it, and he died the next morning. And then
He
didn't,
literally
thank
sits
God.
there in his plant like he's a piece of seaweed. Just
Yeah, he like shapes his body like the shape of the plant, and it's so crazy.
It's probably like a way he hides in the wild. Like there's a defense mechanism.
Probably, yeah. We feed him raw shrimp, so a lot of people do bloodworms, but I did a lot of research on that, and ultimately shrimp is great, and so we just take raw.
Is that what we?
Yeah.
Do you think he's not wanting to eat as much because it's not alive?
I don't think that's fine.
We don't. We should put real
Bloodworms aren't
shrimps.
alive.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
He's so cute.
Maybe
He's literally like 3.5 inches long, 3 inches long. So tiny. He can get 3 feet though, and so we have a 75-gallon tank that he'll be going into very soon. But
I want to hold Tom's snake. He has a 14-foot snake. I really want to hold it.
I'm good on that.
It's so big.
13. I think he said 13.
13 or 14.
Yeah, I'm super good
huge.
on that. It's gonna be like,
Shedding
oh,
right now, so I
I like
can't.
you, but I'm really just trying to size you up and see if I can eat you.
Reticulated python.
Ooh, no thanks.
Big old snake.
So
His
big old
enclosure
snake.
is like from the end of that dog, kind of right there, to like Mushu's tank.
This side of Mushu's tank or that side?
Ooh, maybe the middle of the tank, all the way to the dog kennels.
It's like a 15-foot long tank,
Yeah.
enclosure.
Mhm. Easily. I told him I want an alligator, and he was like, "Kayla, you're crazy."
Yeah, I'm good on
He
alligators.
was like, "Do you realize the type of equipment you'd have to have for that?" I was like, "But babe, I want an alligator."
It'd be fun until it eats
I want
us.
a little crocodile. Little crocodile.
And you can have both and then say, see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile. I heard another one recently, and I was like, "Oh dang, that's one I've never heard before."
Something jelly bean, something else,
No,
tennis shoe.
it's something else with an alligator. Yeah, well, yeah. Yes, you do. Tennis shoe. Something jelly. I know what you mean, jelly bean. Yes, I do. Tennis shoe.
Yeah. there's a
Okie
whole
dokie
bunch of them.
artichoke.
Okay. Anyway, so that's really the end of that story. Today's gonna be. Hang on, guys. Gotta make sure. Okay, still connected.
Today's gonna be a shorter episode for sure. We're tired.
Yeah, it's been a really long week. Both of us had kind of like a blah day, and so we're just trying to make sure we
Blah blah blah.
get you guys your promised episode. Next week's episode is going to be all about the court that we went to this week with the funny judge, which we're going to be calling John Kennedy.
We're gonna call him Mr. John F. Kennedy. He knows who he is if he's watching.
Yeah. He's hilarious. We really like him, and he's a really good guy. You can tell. Like, as a judge, he's the nicest
So
judge.
nice. So much comedy when we're there. A little teaser for next week. We told him about the podcast, and he wrote it down in court the other day, so we're hoping he watches.
I think there was already some subscriptions from her announcing that in the courtroom, because we went from 9 to 12 in like a 12-hour span of time.
I told him about the podcast while I was standing at the stand talking to him about my fine review is what this court date is.
Yeah, and as we started to walk away, he was like, "What is that called? I'm going to have to look that up." And he wrote the information down.
And everybody in the courtroom was looking and listening, so I'm like, Jail Tales Podcast.
Yeah, we walked out
And I said, we talk about
so
you.
excited.
We talk about you on there a lot, because I told him he missed his calling as a stand-up comedian, because he's so funny.
So funny. He's hilarious. One of the jokes that he made, he was doing some of the math, and he was like, "Oh, I don't even know if that's right. I'm not good at math. Good thing I didn't go to school to be an accountant. 'Cause if I had, lots of people would end up in federal prison." And everybody cracked up.
Oh, and one more thing, too. Mr. Robert Humphrey was there.
Oh, yeah. We'll have an update on Robert Humphrey for you guys next week.
So it's a little taste for next week, you know.
Very exciting. And I think our 4th episode, we're going to have our first guest star sharing some stories.
So, I'm just going to be myself on here. Anybody that knows me knows that's fine.
Okay. Very demure.
Very mindful, very demure.
I hate that phrase.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we have lots of people that this has reached. So we have people that want to come on here, like ex-gang members, ex-drug dealers, people that would like to share their story with people, too.
Yep.
Some verbally and some on camera. One of them we might have to go take a trip to interview.
Yeah, we can do that. I'd prefer mostly for people to travel to us, but we can travel to people if
I'd be the only person,
possible.
I think. I don't want them here.
Yeah, true. And some people are going to want to be anonymous. That's totally fine. So if you want to be on our podcast, you have a story to share, you know someone who has a story to share, we can just do a call where we talk to you, and you don't have to say your name, your face. It doesn't have to be shown. It can be very anonymous. We just want stories to share with people about what's going on.
Funny, sad,
Crazy,
violent,
scary, yeah.
We want people to see the truth and reality of things in the system, people affected by the system, people that work for the system. There's so many different facets of the jail life, so many things that are affected. So
yeah, and I think for the most part, you and I have more positive stories because we live in a great area where the police are really awesome, and so the story I'm about to tell is a positive one, and then, you know, you're, like we talked about last time, your experience with the police out here was really great, and you've made some good connections. And
miss you guys.
And the judge that we refer to, John F. Kennedy, or John Kennedy, I think we should just call him John Kennedy.
JFK.
Keep it a little shorter. He's awesome, great judge. I think that he should, I feel like an award to be won for being a good judge with a good heart and a sense of humor. He would be the winner for sure, in my opinion.
Should bring him an award next time. Here's your certificate
Oh,
of
that would be
achievement.
cute. We should do that. We should get a little medal and be like, "Thanks, Judge."
We just want to let you know you're appreciated for being a judge. He'd be like, what?
He'd be like, "These ass kissers."
So would everyone in court.
Yeah.
They'd be like, what did they do?
Yeah.
What are they trying to solve? Listen, it's all about how you look at stuff and have a positive experience with it and spin it and see a silver lining. You can sit there and look at stuff like, oh, they're terrible people. Or you can face the facts of what jail's supposed to do for you and be like, I messed up. I'm here because I did it.
Yeah. Well,
That's what I had to learn.
Not everybody is there because they did it. There are cases, like, you know, we know somebody who is facing some charges for something that, from what we can tell, they did not do. And I've heard plenty of other stories from people I know and trust that have been in similar scenarios to where somebody just wanted to screw their life over and made up some stories, and that does happen, and it's the air conditioning.
Oh, I thought it started pouring rain. I was like, whoa, sounds like a hurricane outside. Back down the hatches.
Air conditioning? Hurricane. Very different, but
Well,
that's
it was like,
okay.
It sounded like rain pelting the screen door.
Okay. It's the AC, and rain doesn't hit our
I'm
screen
tired.
door. Okay.
I'm so sleepy.
Anyway, there are plenty of people that are falsely accused as well. So you're not always there because of your own choices.
True. No, I mean, there's a lot of cases where people aren't actually guilty.
Yeah.
But for people that are guilty and know they're guilty, like, come on. You did it. Own up to it.
And that's not to say that
Take
there
care of
aren't
it.
like bad cops. There isn't, there is absolutely police brutality, but that doesn't make every cop bad. That doesn't mean every cop's going to do that. Mm-hmm. If you put yourself in the shoes of the other person, understand what they're going through. I've heard stories about how cops have to like touch cars so that if something happens to them, their DNA is there, and I can't imagine feeling that way and being that terrified too. And
I think a lot of them are scared too. Think about what they walk up on every day when they're pulling someone over. They have no idea
how crazy
what that person is capable of. They're only trained for so many situations. You don't know what could happen. I mean, they go home to family and stuff, most of them, all the time too, and that family has to worry about if they come home.
Yeah.
Or what they could face that day. There's a lot of crazy things that happen. All the jails I've been in, there's fights like crazy all the time.
Yeah,
I'm
sure it's scary. Like being on either side is scary, and I think there's a factor that you and I don't even understand because, there's a racial portion that you and I can never grasp because we will never be able to like step in those shoes and truly feel that. But I can't imagine growing up like thinking, oh, if I just get pulled over for speeding, I might die, and that's so scary.
Right. In certain cases, that would be terrifying.
Yeah. So I think we have a slightly different perspective, or a very different perspective in that sense, because I know I've been pulled over for speeding or something multiple times throughout the many years that I've been driving, and I've never once thought, am I going to make it out of this alive? And that is
that's never been a fear of mine, and I feel bad for people that's a reality for them, because that's not.
No, that's horrible. And
mine's always, oh my God,
should have to feel that way.
If I get pulled over, I'm going to jail, because I had warrants for so long. Now I'm just like, it's great.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't lucky enough to feel that way, to feel safe and secure, just because it's like, oh man, am I gonna get a ticket? Like that's typically what crosses most people's minds, but unfortunately that's not the truth for everybody, and it should be. Nobody should be treated differently because of where they are or what color they are or what schooling they've had or anything like that. And I know it's also different for the city and the state, but skin color should never ever ever come into play, and that's very, very sad. So
or poverty level or anything. If you're a good person who isn't harming other people physically, or you should be considered to give chances, I guess.
Yeah, and I think with that, all of that being said, there is a lot of room to grow in our judicial system of how we treat people and keep things fair. It's very frustrating the way that one person can do one crime and the other person can do the same crime but be a different skin color and get a far worse punishment, or the other person didn't get any punishment and this person's spending like life in jail. That's crazy, and it should not be that way. It should be fully based on, this is the law, this is the punishment for it, and if you have a record, then of course it increases every time, but there should never ever be, well, you're this skin color, so you're going to suffer so much more. It needs to be equal across the board. And I don't think we had any intention of discussing race here, but
I don't know about equal across the board. Maybe with skin color, yes, but as far as charges go, like you'd think that, but once you get in trouble, if everyone I was in jail with, we all got the same charge for stealing or the same charge, like it just varies depending on the person, like history.
Well, yeah, but that should be the same too. Like if you've done it, if this is your first time, then you get the same punishment as anybody else who's first time. If it's your third time, same punishment as anyone else who's third time. And that's what I mean by equal across the board.
I know, but I feel like they do it a little different because certain people are at certain levels. Like this might be your first time, but maybe you have a better grasp or understanding, and you might actually see change from this type of program. So I'm going to put you in this program, but you need more time in jail.
But that's not quite what I'm referring to. I think there's a lot of scenarios where it's like, well, he's a white guy in college and he has his whole life ahead of him, so we're not going to ruin it, and he gets a slap on the wrist. Happen. And it's typically just based on the judge's discretion that day, and that should not be how the judicial system works.
Which sucks. There are days when I've been in court and, people that are new to the system that know that I've been there a while want to ask a lot of questions and be like, what do you think I'm facing? How much time do you think I'm going to get? And the same answer always goes with people. You don't know. Your attorney's the person that's going to know the best. But so many people want that reassurance when they're in, like when they first get to jail. I did it. Yeah. Well, these are my charges. Do you think I'll get probation? And they'll be like, I don't know. I mean, this is what you can compare yourself to other cases all day long. But the reality is that day, the judge might be in a bad mood. You might have pissed him off by saying something wrong. The men might have gone before you in court, which I hate because they're always so rude and hostile with judges. And then the girls come in and the judge is in a bad mood. So it all just depends on the day.
Yeah, and it should not be allowed to be that way. It shouldn't be like, well, the
No.
judge is pissy today, so you get a worse punishment, or the judge. It should not be up to judge's discretion. It should be fully like, this is the law, this is the crime, this is the punishment. Period. If you've done it more, then you get a deeper punishment. Maybe it's not that simple, because in watching kids, if the kids know what the punishment is before they do it, then they're going to be able to say, okay, well, I'm willing to take that punishment, so I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
But
see,
that's not why they switch it up like that. It's just because it's
no,
whatever.
it's not why they
feel.
switch it up. But with my situation, see, I avoided checking in with my probation because I just thought it'd be 180 days, and I was like, forget it, whatever. I'm broke, don't feel like checking in, yada yada. And then it ended up being much more. And then I was offered 5 years prison. So I think that was to be like, hey, this is not just what you could get. You could possibly get this.
Yeah, it's to scare you.
It's very much to scare you. It worked. It worked. County that I can't say. It worked.
Yeah.
I was like, 5 years for a probation violation. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I guess it's really not as simple as it seems it could be. But I do think there's a lot of I can't think of the word, but like, things need to be redone. Things need to be gone over again, and a different system needs to be. It just all needs to be adjusted. There's a lot of things wrong with it.
I think a lot of people agree.
Yeah, we have a lot of positive things to share, but we're not ignoring the fact that there are a lot of issues. There are plenty of things that are not okay happening in the judicial system, or with police officers, and brutality and racial issues, and those things will probably come up throughout different stories of different guests that we have on the show, and we will definitely address it more then. And we had no intention of going over that today or any other episode. We haven't talked about that until literally just now when I brought that up, but I felt it was important to mention because we have been so positive.
Yep.
But there are negatives.
We don't really have a script.
Yeah, no.
We feel like it's better to just wing it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of are like, what stories are we going to go over, but we don't actually lay out the story ahead of time, so.
We should just get a thing of cards and just start drawing, playing
That's a good idea.
fun little games, or maybe even do trivia. I don't know, it's our show, we can do what the hell we want.
Yeah.
Well, we need to do what the people want.
Well, I think they probably enjoy the cards, and especially if it's like their comments and we put them on little things. And
That would be
pull
nice if we could start. I wish people would leave more comments, even negative ones, so we could read them, like when celebrities read meme tweets.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to read comments and then like snap back on people.
Okay, good to know. Now you know she wants you to say
The more you know. We need more social interaction, so we could be like, so-and-so at blah 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 tweeted. Tweet this.
That's to you, blah, blah, blah.
Blah blah. I do not say blah blah blah.
All right, let's see. We are at. Sorry, guys. I learned I can control this
Time to go.
So it is the half-hour mark, but we only covered the one short story, so we're not done yet.
Okay.
This is probably going to get us a little closer to an hour, so I'm going to share a story that we brought up last week with you guys. My 2-part crazy interaction where I told you I was like glad I got pulled over by a police officer. So I was out on a Saturday night, I believe it was a Saturday night, with my friends playing pool, which I never do, but it was a random night, and I was like, cool, I want to go play pool with you guys. I think we were celebrating a birthday early, and seemed like a great idea. So we went out, and we go to this bar that has a pool table to go play pool, and we end up leaving earlier than we originally intended. And it worked out to where I get in my car and I start backing up, and I'm like 80% backed up, ready to actually I guess I was 100% backed up because I was literally kicking it into drive to now turn and go. Bye, she left. She's not supposed to run off during the show. Get back here.
Huh?
You're not supposed to run off.
I gotta pee.
Okay.
Finish talking.
Anyway, my co-star is gone. I'm taking over. This is now Saige Tales.
Just sitting here awkwardly anyway.
So I am literally ready to kick it into drive, and this driver behind me decides to back up, didn't even notice me, and smashes right into my car. So I park, I get out, bless you. I have someone with me, and so they're standing next to me with this guy trying to give him my insurance information and get his insurance information, and I had to tell him my email, stop sneezing.
Sorry.
That is enough. You are done with the sneezes now. But bless you. So he asked for my email like 10 times. He's so drunk, he can't even put my email in his phone. He's struggling to find his insurance. Oh, as soon as he hit me and we parked the cars, before we're even going over emails, this girl comes walking over crying and she's like, I just wanted to go home. And they're both saying like, it was equally at fault. They're both drunk. I've not had anything to drink, so I know what I know. He said, I can still give you a ride home. Okay.
We're back.
We're back. We had to pause for a second.
I got a hoodie on. NASA, because I'm out of this world.
Oh my god. Okay, she's light years away.
A little light. To infinity and beyond.
Sometimes you're like ADHD over here.
Woo!
So anyway, yes, I was sober, they were not. He asked for my email at least 10 times, couldn't find his insurance, couldn't keep up with anything. I'm stressed because I didn't want to piss this guy off, but I knew that I needed to like have a police report. I was hit by somebody back in December. They were at fault. I made them text me and say that they were at fault. I text them back saying, yes, you were at fault. Didn't have time to call the cops because I was running late to my bachata class, and made the mistake of not having a police report done. So insurance still never came through on that. They're saying they don't have proof about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yep, 9 months, almost 10 months later. Really ridiculous. So when this happened back in April, I was very stressed because I'm like, I know I need a police report. I don't want to make this guy angry. So eventually I just like built up enough pride, or not pride, but courage, thank you. Courage to cover the dog. To say, I think we need to make a police report because I went through this recently and da-da-da. So call the cops. And literally, they were there in like 45 seconds. They were probably waiting because it's a bar, and so they're probably
Well, yeah, it's really close to where they normally are. So.
Oh yeah, it's right by the police department too.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah,
Close.
so they were instantly there, and the guy who hit me got back in his car, and I'm standing waiting for the cops, and the cops immediately come over, completely ignored me. Like they knew I called, but they kind of just let me be there, let me hold my car keys, didn't do anything. They immediately go over to him. They tell him he needs to get out of the car because they thought he was going to run. They took the car keys from him. They immediately start like DUI testing him, or sobriety test. Thank you. Sobriety testing him, doing all the little run-throughs. And then eventually they came over to me and they were like, you can just sit in your car and relax because it's cold and you know it's going to be a while with him, but we're probably going to end up arresting him. So I was like, oh, yikes. Okay. And at that point, I felt so guilty. I was like, man, I didn't mean to like put something on somebody's record or mess up anybody's life or affect somebody in a negative way. I just was trying to like protect myself in this scenario. So I felt really bad. And I'm sitting in my car watching, and I'm like so stressed and so guilty. And I'm trying to tell myself like, God must have done this for a reason. I was meant to be hit by this guy. Maybe if he had driven home, he would have hurt himself or somebody else, and it was all for a reason. So I try to like talk myself down. Eventually, they did end up arresting him. They came over to my car and told me what happened, and then asked to see my license and registration and insurance. And the cop at the very end, so there were two cops, and one didn't interact with me at all except when he first walked up. I said, hey, how's it going? He was like, oh, it's a Saturday night in blank city, and it's crazy. So I was like, oh, understandable. Only time I interacted with that one cop. The other cop is the one that dealt with everything else. And he was like, well, who's driving your car? And I said, well, I am. It's my car. And he was like, okay, but who's driving? And I said, I am. So he was like, well, legally I have to run a sobriety test on you to make sure you're okay. So all he did was just check my eyes, and he did it for like 3 minutes, and that's the only time I've ever been sobriety tested. So I was like, is he doing it for this long because something's wrong? Like, I know I didn't drink anything, I haven't done anything else.
It's normally not for alcohol. When they do the finger thing, it's for marijuana.
Well, I hadn't done
to
that
measure
either.
It's to measure your hand-eye coordination. You're supposed to follow the finger with your eyes and not your head. So if you're turning your head and not just your eyes, it's like you can't focus enough to, you're stoned.
Okay.
So
Well,
maybe because they
definitely
didn't
not.
smell alcohol or anything, like obviously, and maybe they thought it was just.
And maybe I will. I'll get to why I know that the cop was new in a little bit, and that's why he had to do that anyway. Was because he was just like running procedure basically to make sure he's doing his job right. So checks me, says I'm good, sends me on my way. I still feel guilty. I called my mom, I think that night or the next morning, probably next morning, she goes to bed early, and told her all about it, told everybody the story, and I'm like, oh, crazy story, and I feel so guilty, I feel so bad. And so the whole next day I'm like, man, I'm just believing that God did it for a reason. It must have been God did it for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm like trying to convince myself of this, and I finally get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure it was for a reason. So the next night, driving home, getting gas, it's now a Sunday night by myself, and I'm speeding a little bit, more than I realized I was. I think I was going like 55 and a 45.
That's not terrible.
No, and it's late, nobody's out, so I see a car way back that looks like a cop, and I was like, oh shoot, I need to slow down. Well, I did slow down, but it was too late. So I ended up getting pulled over, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get a ticket. This sucks. I really don't wanna deal with a ticket right now. And I literally was like, come on, God, just please protect me. And before I even got pulled over, before I even got gas, I was like, just talking to God like I do sometimes. And I was like, I really wanna be home by now. I'm really stressed out that I'm not home. Like, I have so much stuff to do. And then get pulled over, super stressed. And the cop comes, and I have my license and registration ready for him. He takes my stuff, and before he even like walks all the way back to his car, he comes back around my window, and he said, do you have a bottle of water or something in your car? And I'm thinking, this guy thinks I'm intoxicated right now. Like, what the hell is going on? So I was like, well, I have this like cup of water, kind of like this, but taller. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, go ahead and get out of the car, and we'll deal with this problem real quick for you. And I was like, oh God, he's about to sobriety test me. Like, I have not been drinking. What is going on? So I get out, and he said, we need to like, before he got to this part and explain what was going on yet, he said, were you in a car accident last night? And I said, well, yes, sir. I was hit by a drunk driver. And he was like, okay, at blah, blah, blah bar. And I said, yes, sir. And he was like, I'm the officer that arrested that man. I was like, what? Okay, crazy.
He was the one you didn't interact with as much.
The one I didn't interact with, yeah. So I was like, that's crazy, okay. So he was like, well, let's deal with this really quick, and then we'll talk about that. So he ends up having me get like napkins or something on my car to pour water on to clean my license plate, because I hadn't put my new registration sticker on yet. I didn't think they cared about that, because they run your plate, they see if it's registered or not. I didn't think the sticker mattered. But he said, if I do this, I don't have to give you a ticket. And I was like, okay. And then he told me, we're really just out looking for drunk drivers. We're not worried about somebody who's barely speeding. So I was like, cool, nice cop. I appreciate that. Just trying to keep people safe. Very friendly. Then he did something he shouldn't have done. This is why we keep things anonymous, because nobody needs to be in trouble. But he covered his camera and like muted it or whatever. And he was telling me, you know, the guy that hit you last night who got arrested, he was asking about you all morning, and he wanted your information. Like when we let him out of the drunk tank this morning, he really wanted your information, because he's swearing up and down that you were at fault, not him, even though the police report says otherwise. So just be prepared for that, and here's how to go about it through insurance and what you need to know, and like who you should reach out to through your insurance, because if you reach out to a local agent, then they're more helpful versus like the 800 number or whatever.
I don't think it's illegal for him to tell you any of that.
He's not supposed to tell me anything about the guy being arrested, and he did end up telling me like how long he was in the cell for, and he said that the guy blew a really, really high BMI. Not BMI, blood alcohol content, BAC.
BAC, and it's not illegal to tell you he got arrested. It's public knowledge. I mean,
well, I knew he got arrested, but he's not supposed to tell me that he blew a really high BAC, or I don't know. I don't know what was supposed to be kept secret, but he seemed for some reason like he wasn't really supposed to be sharing that, and he was helping me. And he ended up telling me like the guy's BAC was so high that if he had driven to where the guy was going to be driving home that night, if he had driven that far, the cop was certain that he would have either killed himself or someone else. So I was like, wow, that was like God confirming to me what I've been telling myself all day, and now instead of me just trying to convince myself of that, I know it to be true.
Because you felt bad for calling it first.
Yeah, I felt really bad because I didn't want to mess somebody's life
up. You don't want to ruin someone's life, but he ruined his own life when he decided to drink that much and drive. I mean, he could have killed a family driving home.
He could have killed himself, and he has a family, I'm sure.
Well, I know this sounds terrible, but if you've been drinking and driving and you're the only one that gets hurt, thank goodness it's not a family with kids.
absolutely true.
Not that I want anyone to pass away or anything, but like if that's what happens and not you hitting somebody on, because most of the time it's hitting someone.
Well, yeah, you're drunk,
head
so you
on.
get less hurt than the other person.
Most of the time, you know why I've heard is because you're drunk, your body's more relaxed, you don't seize up in the wreck, so you don't. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Your body stays loose because it's not, your senses aren't all there.
Yeah, you're not frigid and broken.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you couldn't die from it. And, you know, even if all I did was save his life that night, like I've had people say, well, you know, if he's going to drink that much and he dies, whatever, maybe he shouldn't be around.
No,
and I think that's around. Well, not only does he deserve to turn around, but it would affect that if he has kids. He was an older man; he was probably close to 60. And if he has kids, or a mom that's still around, or anybody, you know, people are going to be affected by the loss of someone they love, and that's sad. So it saved so many people from heartache, whether it was a different family or his.
And that person that's affected by the loss might also, in turn, turn to alcohol because they're upset. So it's just like you don't want to.
Yeah, and that can hurt other people. Exactly. So I ended up never pursuing the insurance. Honestly, I wasn't worried about it. There was barely any scratches on my car.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I never did anything about it. I just feel like I was supposed to call to have the report done to save somebody's life that night, and it wasn't even really, it ended up not being about the actual damage on my car.
It's nice that you got pulled over the next day, though, and that affirmed to you that you know.
Yeah, that was awesome. And the cop did not give me a ticket at all, and he was very nice. And then I mentioned something about a business that a family member owns and asked if he was at the police department where that business goes sometimes. And he said, no, it's a different one, but what's the name of the business? And I told him, and then he was like, oh my gosh, my wife and I love that place. That's so exciting.
Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
Yeah. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
So that was really cool. It just felt like small world. So I ended up getting his business card because we were like, if you have any questions at all, please call me. And he did tell me the officer the night before only had to check me because he was a new cop and he was just doing
he was going through training and stuff to make sure he does everything right.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a crazy experience that I felt like was supposed to happen, and it was a great interaction with a cop, and I was very, very lucky. I didn't get a speeding ticket. I didn't have any real damage to my car, didn't get hurt. Like, it was all meant to be. I probably saved somebody's life just by existing, like just being in the moment where I was supposed to be, got hit, and that's okay. Like, I would rather take a little bit of damage to my car and have somebody still be alive, even though it's not somebody I know or will ever know.
True. Some things happen for a reason sometimes.
Yep.
The whole chain of event thing that we've been discussing lately, probably.
Yeah, I think everything happens for a reson, and not everything is that quick to see.
I do too.
Oh, I wonder why, because good old Tom.
Speaking of Tom.
I think a lot of the things that happen for a reason we don't see for a long time, but it's really cool when you see it quickly like that, and it's very reassuring, and it was awesome. So I literally drove away from that incident with the police officer the second night. My friend was like, oh, it was a part 1 and part 2. The story continues, right? So at the end of the part 2, I drove away and I was so pumped. I was like so excited. I was like, yes, thank you, God.
I got pulled over.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so glad I got pulled over. Thank you, God, for letting me get pulled over.
Hear that.
No, I've never been excited to be pulled over, and that was such a weird scenario. Like, for literally another 45 minutes, I had so much happy adrenaline. I was so stoked. I was just like, I can't wait to tell everybody about it. It was so cool. So that was a cool interaction, and that just continued to like reaffirm to me that the cops out here are really, really good cops. And he did not work at the facility that you were in. Different.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Crazy stories. My part 2, I think that's a story I'll probably remember forever.
Yeah, I remember all mine, that's for sure. I need to be able to go over them in more detail when we have these podcasts. I think I'm just my ADD is like fume.
I get into storytelling mode, and then after it's over and I'm like telling somebody else's story.
Oh, we should have talked about this.
No, that's not what I was saying, but yeah, no, but like once we're done with this storytelling scenario of being on the podcast, and I'm still stuck in that mode of like, I need to tell every detail. Yeah. So instead of just
if you're on the phone
answering the question of like this simple little bit, I'm like, well, let me tell you everything.
What had happened was.
Yeah. Let me write you a little book real quick.
I hope Tom watches.
Oh, I'm sure Tom's going to watch. He knows you're going to talk about him, so he wants to hear what you're going to say. Hi, Tom. We're glad we met you. Tom is very nice. There's been lots of progress there, and she's obviously spent a lot more time with him, but I've spent some time with him too.
Oh gosh.
Like, they'll be on the phone, and I'll talk with Tom while they're on the phone, and Tom's a really good guy. We're very glad we met him. He's very smart. He's got a good heart. He's a good guy.
Speaking of things happening for a reason, I wouldn't have met him had I not gone to jail.
That's true, because then we wouldn't have gone to court to find the eel, to get the tank, to get the spray paint.
It was meant to
It's like a whole row of events, but somebody that is very important in my life at this moment, it has said many times that the mathematical likelihood of certain things happening, like of all the minutes, of all the times in all the world, right? Like, we could have gone to Walmart any other time during the day. We could have gone to any other Walmart. You know, if it had just been a different, literally 40 seconds later, we wouldn't have been
40
that
seconds.
time.
He
Or
said that he
earlier.
was about to leave, like he normally doesn't stay there that long.
Well, and even before that, when we walked in front of his car.
Yeah, he could have been
40
gone.
seconds earlier, 40 seconds later, we never would have had that interaction
Just even
that led to that.
just even 10. If we had walked in 10 seconds sooner and didn't walk in front of his car.
Yeah.
Thank you for driving slow while you listen to Limp Biscuit.
Yeah, and I mean, we spent so much time on the fish tanks that night. Had it been, we finished a little earlier, a little later,
It all
didn't
came
go.
down to the perfect timing. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and so anyway, my important person has said, like, there are just some things that can't be coincidence, because the likelihood of it being as such just doesn't even make sense. Of all the moments in all the world, it happened to be that one. Isn't there a quote from a movie that's like, in all the stores and all the whatever,
Yeah,
you walked into mine?
Out of all the bookstores and all the something coffee shops you walked, I don't know. Yeah, it's some movie.
Yeah,
I'll have to look it up. But
you walked into mine.
oh my goodness, I just like him so much. And if things continue this way, I could see it being a very good,
Fruitful experience.
yes. I don't even want to say relationship, but just, you know, I would like to continue dating. Hopefully it goes good. I'm super happy right now. Happiest I think I've ever been.
Yeah, I'm happy seeing you happy.
Super excited. Every time my ringtone goes off, I'm like, ooh.
I definitely approve, and I think the rest of the family will approve when we get to the point of everybody else
in
meeting.
time. No rush at all. I'm enjoying the
But that's rare. Like,
lights.
for me to even approve is rare, and then for them to
sure.
approve is super rare. So
Now I've got to get him approved by the chief. Chief said he better be good to you or I'll kick his ass.
Well, it's a lot to live up to there, Tom,
Tom.
with the 14-foot snake. Hi, Tom. Shout out. I know we've been talking about you, but
Parade wave.
It's
I
fun.
miss you already.
oh, that's cute.
It's sickening cute. Anyway.
All right, I think everyone's done listening to our little. I almost said love tales, but it's not a love tale. Our happy,
not the L
happy
word.
tales.
Happy jail tales, jail tales.
Jail tales.
What's that song? Yeah, like Veggie Tales. You gotta think of like a parody version. Jail tales.
I don't know if we
Or
can
like
do that.
DuckTales. Dun, dun, dun,
My
dun,
friend,
dun,
who
dun.
probably is going to watch
Jail
this episode,
tales.
different friend than mentioned before, has a live stream for video gaming and asked me to join it the other night so that he could like shout us out on there and I could answer questions. So I was in the comments while he was doing
Did
it.
you?
Yeah.
Woo!
It was cool. And so he mentioned it to his people playing on there with him, and they literally were like, oh, like DuckTales? And most people were like, I don't even know what that is.
DuckTales.
It was funny.
I don't know the words, but it's like that. DuckTales. If you're my age, you know what that is.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, you know.
Right. Yeah, we have lots of good supporting people in our life that are sharing and advertising for us and supporting us in the way of like, yay, do it, we're so happy for
Like,
you. So-
share, subscribe. I hate doing this because I don't know how many videos I've seen where I'm like, oh my god, like, share, subscribe, but do it.
Yeah, we want to grow
Do
so we have an
it.
audience and we
Do
can
it.
have, eventually we'd love to have like celebrities on the show. We can't do that if we're not big enough. So we want to bring you guys better content that's not just us, that's not like
We need
minuscule
real
stories.
people. Like maybe one day Jelly Roll. I would really love to have Ronnie Radke, the lead singer, fall in reverse. I know Tom would freak out, but he's been in jail and he had a really crazy experience. One day, Ronnie, if you see this, please come join our podcast.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, so we need you guys to be subscribing and liking and following and sharing so that we can get to the point where we have better content for you. We can do lives, we can answer questions, we can have better guest stars and better stories, and everything will improve with you. So please do that, and I will link all of our things at the end of the episode like I did last time. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. Let us know if you ever have any questions or anything you want to share. You can be anonymous. I know we've said that before, but you can. A lot of people are deterred by like having their face or name.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do any of that. Your comfort level, and just remember we're gonna like keep other people's information out of the stories too.
And join us come Halloween for a spooktacular episode where we're gonna dress up, and I'm really excited. We should dress up like once a month. Just do like a fun dress.
Okay.
No, but for Halloween, maybe we'll get some comments, and we can get some costume suggestions, and I'll make something fun.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any non-inappropriate costumes that you'd like to see,
I think I'm gonna come up with something that's like jail related, not just inmate officer.
Oh, okay.
No, I've been an inmate enough. I don't want to dress up as one again. Handcuffs are not going on these wrists again.
Well, I didn't think we were gonna do that. I guess I can be the inmate because I've never been the inmate, and you could be the police officer.
Gosh, no, but something real funny, like comedic, jail related. Like one year I wore all black and made a postage stamp, and I was blackmail.
Oh, that's funny.
Just something like that, like something real funny.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So if you guys have any ideas, we're not gonna wear like skimpy, inappropriate things. So don't even take it there.
Slutoween. I said spooktacular.
Okay. Yeah. So feel free to share.
What are
your
you?
ideas.
I'm a mouse. Duh.
I love that part. That's so funny. What does she say? She's like feeling herself, and she said, "There's a 50% chance it's already raining." Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's like
I'm psychic. It's like a fifth sense.
Stupid ass. Oh my gosh.
You have first cousins. You have cousins, and then you have first cousins. No.
The part where she says 30% chance that it's already raining while she's standing out in the rain, it makes me laugh all the time because I have a Google system that's like Alexa or whatever, and it will literally be pouring rain outside, and I'll be like, "Hey Google, what is the chance of it raining today?" And it's like, "There is no chance that it's gonna rain today." And I'm like, "Huh?" And I'll talk to it and be like, "Hey Google, it's raining right now." And it's like, "No, there's no chance it's gonna rain today." Okay, Google.
It sounds like a politician. No, absolutely. That is fake news.
Fake news. Hashtag
it's
fake.
It's true news.
It's ridiculous.
Mr. Mule. Oh,
Mr. Mule. Oh my gosh. I didn't know what you meant at first when you said true news.
I had to walk away.
That was hilarious. Anyway, now we're getting to the inside jokes that you guys don't understand. So we're gonna wrap this on up.
Dun, 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 DuckTales. I gotta show you DuckTales after this. Now the theme song, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, it's funny."
Yeah, I don't know that we're allowed to do parody of it though, because we could get like flagged. Gotta pay for rights on certain things.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the little ditty I just sang isn't gonna get us in trouble.
No, but I guess that's true if we sing it. I don't know. I'll have to do some.
You're allowed to mention stuff, but I can't like play the actual song or the actual tune.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god, my dog is whining.
Yeah, if you guys hear the dogs during our filming, I'm sorry. Eventually, with enough followers, we'll have an office space, and we've overstayed our welcome today. So let's close it out. Thank you guys for joining us for our second episode. We appreciate you and all that you do.
And all that you do, we appreciate you. I'm getting a little delusional because I'm getting sleepy, so it's like
fun times. That was me while driving the other day. We were driving our 8 hours and rocking out to the old Justin Timberlake album, which I've listened to in years.
It would be so stupid.
I was getting so silly with it. I was like, oh, you know, like just like really pop star movements, and she was cracking up at me.
I love driving with her because she's so much fun. We listen to such random music.
Oh, and I was so tired. I didn't sleep all that night. Could not fall asleep.
Nope.
So no sleep.
Then but I had court.
So the sister took me. Because I'm kind.
Even though I feel like killing her.
No, I didn't feel like killing you. I just was so tired, but
so tired.
We made it. Yes, we made it. We did 4 hours there, 4 hours back. Somehow it took us almost 12 hours to do it.
A fucking concert.
And then I got straight here, dropped her off, and went straight to a concert. Came home at like 12:30 in the morning. But the concert was super fun, and it was worth it for sure. So then I slept the next day, made up for it. But
I'm about to give my, maybe I might give him a bath.
I don't think our podcasters care if we're giving them baths.
I'm going to give my dogs a bath, guys.
Okay.
You should care. I missed them for a year in jail. Don't go to jail, you lose your dogs.
Unless you have a nice sister. Okay.
All right.
We're talking your ears off now. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us. We appreciate all of your support and our little song of all that you do. So we'll see you next time
Bye.
on Jail Tales.
Tales from the jails.